And joining us right now on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, we have gotten to know her. We've gotten to listen to her and how great she is at being the play-by-play voice of the 76ers. Joining us right now, the great Kate Scott. Kate, how are you?
Happy Friday. Is it Saturday yet? I'm ready to call some playoff basketball, man. Good to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks so much for doing this. It's great to have you on the show. We're honored to have you. I really mean that. But yeah, that excitement is just pumping through South Philadelphia, all throughout Sixers Nation. What are the hours like for you leading up to playoff tip-off?
It's trying not to stay up too late, being excited about Saturday, because just like the guys this week, this was a really important week of rest. So I had to remind myself, okay, just because you don't have a game tomorrow doesn't mean you shouldn't go to bed early to try to catch up on sleep and be really rested and focused and ready to go on Saturday, because hopefully it's going to be a long next couple of months of postseason basketball for the Sixers. But it was a great week. The guys are ready to go. I was at practice this morning. I'm ready to go. We're all fired up. Like, enough of training camp, right? That's what it felt like all over again. Enough of going up against your own guys. Enough of me watching old Brooklyn games, seeing these new look Nets. I'm tired of it. I want to see the guys on the floor in South Philly. Let's do this.
What was the mood? I got to ask you, what was the mood like at practice over there in Camden?
Really good. And again, I know we're supposed to temper our expectations here in Philly, and that's what I've always done. Even from my Cal days, it was always, okay, we might have a decent chance, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We know how the team has done in the past, but the vibes were great all week. The vibes have been really high. The guys are healthy. They're confident. I actually can't say enough about the last couple of games of the season, even though, and I'm jokingly calling them G League showcases because, right, none of the starters played, but the way that the guys who don't usually play were able to pull out that overtime win in Atlanta against the Hawks starters, and then having Mac and Lewis King, these guys, make their Sixers debut last week in Brooklyn, yeah, it felt different than obviously the next number of months are going to feel. But that did a lot for like team chemistry. And I think just those two unexpected victories to end the season just fired up a team that is already loving playing with each other, already fired up about the potential that they have going into the playoffs. So the week was really good, man. The guys are healthy. They're confident. So knock on wood, they don't lay an egg then tomorrow and make me look like an idiot.
Right. No, sometimes
no
we
pressure,
just can't.
guys. No
yeah,
pressure.
right. Come on. I do want to ask you about Joel Embiid. I'm sure if I ask you if he's your MVP, the answer to that question is going to be yes. So do you think it's something that is no longer on his mind? I think I hate to, again, knock on wood and jinx anything here, but I think he realizes that he's about to win that award. Is that something you think he gets to check that box and now focus on just being dominant in the postseason for a long playoff run?
Yeah, well, from what the early returns have said, because I'm sure all of us are paying attention to all of that stuff, right? It sure seems like he may finally pick up the MVP this season. And I really appreciate one of the many things that I appreciate about Joel is that when he does sit down with the national media, which is rare, but we've seen a number of things come out this week, right? And he has said, I chose very purposefully coming into this year, after trying so hard to kind of advocate for myself the last couple of seasons and seeing it go nowhere, I decided coming into the season, I just wasn't going to talk about it. Now, did that mean I didn't want to win it and don't care? Heck no. Anybody who's saying they're not thinking about it, like, that is BS. And that is what he said in those interviews. And that is one of the reasons I love Joel, because of course they care. Just the same way that Jokic would love to win it for the third time, that Giannis would love to win it again, that Tatum would love to win it first. Like, it matters. It is the biggest individual award in the regular season in the best league of basketball in the entire world, on the planet. So hell yeah, it means something. And I'm sure there's some monetary ties, and I'm sure it would help with sponsorships and stuff. But I don't think Joel really thinks about that. I think that he has put in the work each offseason to get even better than he was. I thought he was the MVP last year, despite what advanced statistics and analytics may have said. Like, I'm one of those people who just lets my eyes do the talking. And I thought last year he was the most dominant. And then somehow he came back this year and was even better and more dominant. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that he is the MVP. And I'm not one of those people who's hating on the other guys. Like, I think Jokic and Giannis are incredible. I think it is so cool that the three top dudes right now in the NBA were not born in the United States, that this has become a global game, like David Stern in the NBA wanted it to be back in 92 when they sent the dream team to Barcelona. Like, this has been a long time coming. So the fact that it is truly a worldwide sport now, and that those three are the top, I think it's sensational. And I think our guys at the top, which even makes it more fun.
What can you tell me about Joel Embiid, the leader? Because we used to see a lot more of Joel Embiid. You mentioned how he doesn't really talk to national media as much as he used to. He used to be a lot more accessible. He was a lot more active on social media than he is nowadays. But what has he been like behind the scenes? Because the 2 years you've been here to watch this, I feel like there's been a big maturation process with Joel Embiid off the court.
Yeah. And obviously I can only speak to the 2 years that I've been here, but speaking with people who have been here either since he started in the NBA, or at least the last 4 or 5 years, they have all reflected that to me as well. Like when Arthur, his son, was born a few years ago, that was a big flipping of the switch. When the Sixers had that heartbreaking loss to the Raptors, that kind of flipped a switch for him. Okay, I need to be this much more in shape. I need to be this much more dedicated to my individual craft. And then when it comes to the team things, I may be an introvert and may love to just go back to my hotel room and FaceTime with my son, which I've seen him do a couple of times after shoot around. And I don't know if dudes care about this, but I think it is the freaking cutest thing when this 7 foot, 300-pound guy is like, show me the airplane, show me the airplane, like talking with his son, going back to the bus. But he has realized, even though I would love to do that, if I am the best player on this team and I need a team around me to succeed, I'm going to go to that team dinner. You know, I'm going to go play cards with the guys tonight, because those 2 hours are going to lead to some important moment in the postseason where I need my teammate to love and trust me that much more. So yeah, it's been from the people, again, who've been here since he arrived in Philly all those years ago, they said it's night and day. And what I've seen, it's been really impressive. And I think even we can just tie it to since James arrived, a little over a year ago, the maturity that both of them have shown with compromising at times to make sure the other guy is getting what he needs to feel confident and successful in himself and his role in the team. So I've been blown away by what those two have done together over the last year plus.
It's been a phenomenal season by the Sixers team in total. Is there one play that you called, one call you made during this season that sticks out in particular that really was special to you and the Sixers season?
Oh, man. I usually let the fans reflect that to me. And again, I'm hoping to have so many more in the years to come, but I've learned already you can't force them, because that's when they don't come out right. But a lot of people were happy with my call of what turned out to be the game winner, Joel. I think it was against Dame and the Portland Trailblazers, like a little over a month ago, when they rallied from a big deficit, and Joel was kind of spinning. He started driving, and then he spun and faded and stuff. And I wrote it on a sticky note at the beginning of this season. My kind of motto and my theme for this year was just call what you see. Because so often it's like a ball player walking up to the plate with nobody on, trying to hit a grand slam. Like, if you're trying too hard on a call, it's going to sound like you're trying. So just call what you see. Do it with the energy, enthusiasm that moment seems to need. And then get out of the way and let the pictures do the talking, because it's television, right? If it was radio, I would be talking a lot more.
Right, of course. But
that was one of those moments. And then again, there's so many. I mean, Joel had a career high in points this year. Tyrese Maxey had a career high way back at the start of the season up in Toronto. James Harden had a career high, 21 assists. The Sixers just a couple of days ago beat a full squad Hawks in Atlanta in overtime, and all of us were like, can we just get the hell to Brooklyn? No, we got to beat this team first. So there have been a lot of fun moments, but I think the Embiid game winner was one of my favorites.
And wouldn't you know it, Kate? I'm not kidding. I was at that game, so I didn't get to hear your call until I got home, and I got to hear it. And as I was not surprised at all. You crushed it. You absolutely crushed it.
Thank you. Getting better by the broadcast.
There you go. While we're on that subject, I'm always curious from a play-by-play person's perspective, because I've never done play-by-play.
Smart.
How do you get? how do you guys?
Too much work.
Yeah, right. How do you guys? And I'm not just saying this because you're on the show, but you're great at it. You really are. And this one thing that the great ones do is the 0 to 60 in the blink of an eye. And we've been so blessed in this city to have phenomenal play-by-play people, Marc Zumoff included.
Yep.
That 0 to 60 that you are able to do so well. How do you do it? How do you tell someone who wants to get into broadcasting how they do it? And is it more of a reaction than anything else?
It is, and it's just repetition, just like the players, right? You start at a lower level. I started like a lot of players, calling high school ball, then started calling college ball, then went from calling college women's to college men's, then went from calling bad college men's to calling really good college men's, right? Then get a chance to call a Warriors game on the radio out. So it's just little step on top of little step. A lot of people have asked me, how do you feel you did this year in comparison to last year? And I say, well, for me, it felt night and day better. And I hope for you all as well, because that was my first time calling NBA hoop on a consistent basis. And like you said, there's nobody faster. There's nobody more athletic. Nobody can jump higher, be as physical as the dudes in the NBA, even if we're covering the top teams at the college level. So it was an adjustment just because my brain almost had to speed up. These guys they can get down the court in 3 steps where nobody does that at the college level. So you just have to, got to get your synapses firing quicker. You have to use less words, because if you're using the amount of verbiage you would in college, there'd be like 3 possessions by then. It'd be like, hurry the heck up, Kate, let's go. So just repetition and practice, and being willing to be really, I like to say, relentlessly self-critical. I am one of those people who is always looking to get better. And I have a trusted group of advisors, former play-by-play broadcasters, current play-by-play broadcasters, producers, directors, who work all over the industry, some in basketball, some out, who just are always helping me with feedback. What did you think of this call? What did you think of this end of game scenario? What do you think I could have done better? It's kind of similar to players, like watching film and figuring out how to be better the next time. And just, this was obviously a very long story, but for folks who want to get into play-by-play, got to be willing to work and put in the time, because the majority of work happens before the game starts, before the light goes on. That's the fun part, when you're just calling what you see, but it's all the work beforehand, so that you have all the information up in your head once the game tips off.
That's amazing. Aside from just doing the play-by-play and the work that goes into it, I mean, you talked about the journey to get to where you are now, but do you remember, and can you tell us the first time someone handed you a paycheck for cracking open a microphone? What was it? Who was playing? What was the scenario?
Ooh, okay. First ever sport I called was high school football. Obviously did a lot of sideline reporting and anchoring and all the things that I thought women were going to be allowed to do, because I didn't think women were going to be able to do play-by-play. I didn't start calling games till after I graduated from college because of that. But it was a couple of powerhouses in the Bay Area. It was De La Salle, a high school football powerhouse out in California, and I want to say Monte Vista. And I think the money may have covered my gas to actually drive to the game, because that's a big thing when you start out too.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was getting paid $50 to drive from San Francisco to Sacramento, which is a 2+ hour drive. And if you're in the Bay Area and it's a Friday night, it's a 4.5 hour drive. So, and you're getting like $50. So you're like, okay, gas. And then I stopped at McDonald's or wherever to get dinner. So I maybe made $15 off of that great broadcast I did. But I think I made like 125 on the first game I called. I was awful, but I nailed one touchdown call. And afterwards I was like, oh my gosh, that was so fun. If I actually put in the work and get to a point where I don't suck at this, I think I would like to do this for a job. So that's why we started high school, because it was like on non-HD. Probably the players and their parents couldn't even find the game that weekend. And you practice and you get through the sucking, and then you get better to the okay, and then you figure out, okay, how can I go from okay to good and good to great? So,
All right, who scored the touchdown, and what did you order from McDonald's?
Who scored the touchdown? I know Bart Houston threw the pass, and he actually, I think, went to be a quarterback at Wisconsin. I want to see Anthony. His first name was Anthony something.
Okay.
De La Salle went up by 2 touchdowns, and I was like, yeah, De La Salle. I was hoping you guys were going to lose, but that's okay. It was a great game.
That's amazing.
And definitely got a number 2 coming home from McDonald's, the 2 cheeseburgers and the fries. Might have supersized them. And went the Diet Coke, because I'm watching my figure with the 2 cheeseburgers and the supersized fries. So a lady always has to get her Diet Coke.
Now look, okay, so you go from that game, De La Salle, right? You go Sixers and all that stuff. And then this is, of all the things, this is something I'm wildly jealous of. This is amazing. First off, Mike Golick is one of my favorite humans on the planet. He's been on the show a couple times. He's a great guy, and I love cigars, and I love drinking. And I love hanging out with people that love sports. And I think all three of you right here. Set the scene. This is off your Instagram. People need to follow you on
Oh
Instagram, of
my
course.
goodness.
Tell me what's going on here. What are we celebrating? What are we doing?
Okay, well, that's obviously Skinny Golic, as we like to call him, on the left. Maybe you're right. Who looks like a completely different dude than when he was hosting ESPN's best radio show for 20 plus years. The other dude is Tom Bowman, who was our producer of College Football Saturday Night for Learfield Radio. So that was, before I got the Sixers gig, the biggest gig that I had gotten. So last year, some Sixers fans, understandably, were like, this chick just got the job. She's missing games. So I had already signed my 13-week college football deal. We were calling a college football game of the week because there's this weird chunk kind of in the afternoon on Saturdays where all the SEC and ACC morning games are done, and the Pac-12 and West Coast games aren't starting till like 6:30 or 7. So radio stations across the country were looking for like a 3:30-ish West Coast kick, 6:30, 7 o'clock, Midwest, East Coast. So each week we knocked off a ton of the great ones. So that was actually in Alabama. We found a cigar bar. It was, I think, our second to last week. It was like week 12. And the three of us had just the most fun in the history of fun. We'd never met before. And when we started the first week, you're trying to get to know each other. And then I just started being myself. And I was like, bros, let's get into it, guys. Let's have fun. So it turned into really a food tour. We would go out to dinner. We would all fly into whatever city we were in Friday night. We go out to a big dinner Friday night. I would post it all on Instagram. Then we go out to a big breakfast on Saturday morning. Mike had his sweet player of the game just in a way to get donuts into the broadcasting booth. After the game, we'd hand out like a sweet player of the game. But we had a blast, and it was, I have told both of those guys, still in a text chain with them, that I don't think I would have been as good coming into year one in Philly without them building up my confidence and telling me that I belonged and could do this and was supposed to be here. And then just, in year two, them checking in on me. They're Sixers fans now because I'm here. So, and yes, drinks and cigars are always a good thing, regardless of the time of day or where you are. So that was a great way to cap off our season. There's no doubt in my mind that I wasn't as confident going into last season here in Philly without my time with them, because obviously Golic played here for a number of seasons. So he was like, check out this place. He was so excited for me. He said, just dive in, just be yourself. Philly's going to love you. It's going to take a while, but if you're yourself and you're honest and direct, all the things you are, Kate, like they're freaking going to love you. And those guys are now Sixers fans. They've still been paying attention. They're texting me like, Joel's the MVP. He's so awesome. So, and also cigars and beers and scotch any time of the day, wherever you are, whether it's Tuscaloosa, whether it's after a Saturday afternoon Sixers game, there's never a bad time for it. So thanks for bringing that up, because Mike, Tom, love you guys. Not here without you.
They're awesome guys. And I am curious, and I'll, of course, get the prediction on the Nets if you'll grace us with that. But before you came to Philadelphia, I'm always curious to know this about people before they work here. What did you know about Philadelphia, and what did you expect from Philadelphia?
Well, I called a college game or two here. I called some A10 hoop for NBC Sports, the NBC Sports Network, before NBCSN went off air a couple years ago. I knew it was blue collar. I knew it was gritty. I knew you had to earn your keep. I knew that it took a lot of pride in itself and everything that meant. It's food, it's people, it's sports teams. And I related to that from afar, because I know everybody ties me to the Bay Area because that's where I went to college and that's where I started my career. But I grew up in a small town in the middle of California where sports were life and Friday night football games were it. And you had to earn everything that came your way. I didn't go to a big broadcasting college. I didn't play sport in college. I didn't have a dad who has a big name in this industry. Like, there's no reason that I should be here doing what I'm doing right now. But I worked my tail off to get here. So it always seemed like some place from afar, again, not knowing it too well, just kind of parachuting in and leaving, that I could fit if people gave me a chance, and where I would really enjoy being because of what I know about the city. And it's proven to be just that. And as I've told a lot of people before, I think y'all project that you're rude and unwelcoming just to keep the housing prices down and just to keep people away, which I totally appreciate, because I don't like a lot of people either, but I love everybody here in Philly because they're honest, they're direct, they're so passionate. They care about their families, they care about their teams, they care about their they just care, and that's who I've always been. So it feels in a weird way like this California kid has come home, and I'm hoping to be here for a long time.
That's beautiful. We hope to have you for a long time. Can I get a prediction for you just as far as this Nets series go? Sixers, Nets, what do you think?
Sixers in 5, baby. Let's do it. Sixers
Love
in
it.
5.
Love it.
No disrespect to the Nets. I love the pieces they've brought in. Bridges, Cam Johnson, Spencer Dinwiddie, Nick Claxton. Like, I really respect and appreciate those guys as ball players. I think Jock Vaughn, I'm so happy he finally is getting the opportunity to coach the team since, like, he's been passed over for other people. So I think that in a few years, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But Joel Embiid, James Harden, like a couple of all-timers when it comes to the NBA. The Sixers have way more talent. They have a lot more to play for this season. So I think it's really going to just come down to focus and attention to detail. If the Sixers play their game and do all the little things that Doc Rivers and the staff has been telling them to do this week, that they should handily win this series. I think the Nets might be able to take a game just because they have so much talent. You go to Brooklyn, the fans there are loving the energy of these young guys who finally the cloud of everything they've had to deal with the last year and a half is gone. So they love hoop in New York, and they're going to be rabid. So I won't be surprised if Bridges goes off he already has 340 pieces in his short tenure in Brooklyn, going against the team he grew up rooting for, the team that drafted him. I could see him going off, and Spencer Dinwiddie, we know he's a good scorer too. So I'm giving the Nets one game, but I am
okay. And there's going to be one game where Seth Curry just is annoying the heck out of us. It's just going to happen. It's just going to happen.
Good point.